Yesterday, excuse you.
Good morning. My name is Christy Hebert. That's spelled C-H-R-I-S-T-I-E. Last name Hebert, H-E-B-E-R-T. I'm an attorney with the Institute for Justice, and I'm joined by my colleagues Jeff Rose and Riley Grace Borden, and our client, Colin Oliveira, who represents the Lighthouse Christian Ministries. We're here to announce a major federal lawsuit challenging the city of Wenatchee's unconstitutional revocation of Lighthouse Christian Ministries' permit to operate its soup kitchen. We stand here outside of the soup kitchen that used to provide meals to the needy, and now that soup kitchen sits empty. The Institute for Justice is a national public interest law firm. We represent ordinary Americans for free in constitutional litigation across the country to protect not only the rights of our clients, but to set legal precedent that protects the rights of all Americans. One thing we specialize in is property rights. We have represented property owners across the country in challenges to defend their rights to use their property to serve the communities most vulnerable. This is part of IJ's Zoning Justice Project, which defends private property owners from abusive property regulation. Last year, this team won a federal lawsuit in Montana challenging a city's unconstitutional revocation of a conditional use permit to operate a homeless shelter. Now that homeless shelter is open. Lighthouse is seeking to do the same thing here. It's asking for a federal court order to allow it to reopen its soup kitchen. Now my colleague Riley Grace will speak about the facts and claims.
Good morning. My name is Riley, R-I-L-E-Y, Grace, G-R-A-C-E, Borden, B-O-R-D-E-N, and I'm a litigation fellow with the Institute for Justice. Today, we stand in front of the Lighthouse Soup Kitchen, which on any regular day would be serving food to the neediest people in Wenatchee, but it can't now. The Lighthouse Soup Kitchen is bringing a major constitutional challenge to the city of Wenatchee's revocation of Lighthouse's conditional use permit. This past summer, the city of Wenatchee revoked Lighthouse's soup kitchen permit for trivial reasons and for majorly exaggerated call data, false accusations of nuisance. Going back to 2016, Lighthouse was granted a conditional use permit by the city of Wenatchee. The conditional use permit allowed it to operate from this building. Another 3 years later, Lighthouse invested into preparing this building to serve the community. Finally, in 2019, after those 3 years and $1.67 million of investment, Lighthouse was able to open its doors to the community. Before that, though, Lighthouse sat down with the city and made a plan in case there were any instances of misbehavior on these grounds. And it had a step-by-step plan to address that. The city agreed to that plan, and Lighthouse always followed every step, every time. For 6 years, Lighthouse successfully operated from this location, serving the community and often going well above and beyond the call of its duties. Then, this year, a handful of politically connected neighbors contacted the mayor with complaints. Immediately, with no warning and no chance to make any corrections, Lighthouse received its revocation of its permit. Lighthouse was not given any warning, and it didn't have a chance to respond to this. It is unconstitutional to revoke a conditional use permit for trivial reasons and for misrepresentative call data. Lighthouse always worked to be a good neighbor and to work with the city and to work with its neighbors. But the city has made it clear that it does not want to work with Lighthouse. And that is why we are bringing this federal lawsuit. Now, the city will have to spend money that it could be spending for other purposes in the city, including feeding the homeless, on defending this lawsuit. I want to pass the mic on here to Colin Oliveira, our client, who will tell us more about the impact that the soup kitchen's closure has had on the community.
My name is Colin, Kolin, and my last name is Oliveira, O-L-I-V as in Victor, E-I-R-A. And the simple fact is that when the city set out to on this agenda to shut down Lighthouse Christian Ministries, what they did is they removed thousands upon thousands of pounds of food from our community. What they did is they removed a vital lifeline for not only the city itself to be able to reach those that were in need, but for all of our community partners here in Wenatchee to be able to connect and offer the resources and the things that individuals need to ideally get out of this state of homelessness. On top of that, the city also severely damaged the reputation of Lighthouse Christian Ministries within our own community. And so it's because of that that we set out to fight this case, because we want to make sure, one, that we're not ever treated like this again, but to make sure that nobody else is treated like this again either.
Lighthouse always worked hard to be a good neighbor. There's evidence of it all around this building. There's even a gate across the street here that Lighthouse put in voluntarily to increase safety in this area. At that, I'd like to open up for any questions, and just feel welcome to start asking. Thank you so much for all of your time.
So is the assertion that nothing was done wrong, or is the primary assertion that no opportunity was given for you to correct things that were done wrong?
Yeah, so the first step by a city when it comes to a conditional use permit, when there's any kind of small mistake or correction to be made, is not to revoke the permit immediately. That would be like somebody came to my house and saw that my grass was too long, and they were going to foreclose my house in response to that grass being too long, rather than, hey, here's a ticket, go mow your lawn. That's what Lighthouse should have received. Here's a ticket, here's what you can do to fix this, because it was all easily fixable. But they didn't receive that. The city just revoked the permit. And they also did so with no warning. Thank you for your question.
Are you able to provide an example of something that could have been easily fixed?
Yeah, 100%. So this gate actually right over here was locked by Lighthouse. And they did that in order to make sure that they could keep it more accountable who was coming into the building, and just to make the area safer in general. So once you were in, you were in. If you were coming from the outside, they had to know who you were. And that was for safety purposes. And the city said that in the permit, the gate had to be unlocked. And so in response, Lighthouse, the moment they got that revocation order, unlocked the gate. That's one example.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm happy to give others as well.
Can you please give them examples?
Yeah, so another example is this parking lot over here, actually. Lighthouse decided to lease this parking lot. And the reason they decided to lease this parking lot is they didn't want so many cars that were either coming to Lighthouse or doing food deliveries to park out here cluttering the street. And so they decided to lease this parking space, and just basically to be less intrusive in this area. And they were told that they couldn't lease the parking space. But actually the permit did not specifically say that they could not lease the parking space. They just didn't tell people that they were leasing the parking space legally.
So basically, if they would have just told the city that they were leasing it, then I'm sorry, perhaps that's speculation. But I don't know. I don't have a question on that.
Oh, I think if they had told the city, I think it wouldn't have made a difference. And I think that's why we're here. I think that's because we're here for bigger reasons than just a locked gate or a leased parking space. We're here because people in this city don't want the homeless to be able to go to the soup kitchen. And they were looking for any excuse to be able to make that happen, and the city has made its excuses to make that happen.
Do you think it's the city that was doing that, or do you think it were, as you mentioned, politically connected neighbors who are pressuring the city to do so?
At the end of the day, it was the city that made the decision to do this, and it had the power to do it.
Can you give an estimate on the impact this has on people who would normally been using the soup kitchen?
Yeah, absolutely. And Colin can also speak to that really powerfully. So I'll actually let Colin answer that. Yeah.
Can you just state your question again real quick for me?
Yeah, do you have an estimate on the impact this has on people who would normally be using the soup kitchen? Do you have numbers or anything like that?
Well, I mean, just using rough numbers, right? We served between 75 and 100 individuals a day in regard to our lunch meals. On top of that, we distributed thousands upon thousands of pounds of food through our food box ministry, through our downstairs where we brought in all the food. So, I mean, it's a very massive amount. We were serving nearly 100 individuals twice a week through our food box ministry, 100 meals a day through our upstairs. So it's not an insignificant number by any means.
And also for Colin, would you have been able to pursue this lawsuit without the help of the Institute?
The Institute for Justice has been a very integral part of this. They were able to reach out to us because this is what they do, and they do this best. Whether or not we could have set out to do this without them, I don't know, truthfully.
So to be clear, the Institute reached out to Lighthouse or vice versa?
The Institute for Justice reached out to us. They connected to us because of what happened, because of the city's revocation of our conditional use permit.
Colin, who do you have behind you today?
Behind me, we have a whole plethora of individuals, as you can see. This is everywhere from our past directors, board members, community partners, individuals that would come down and serve meals, my wife and daughter, individuals that have been invested in this ministry since it was across the street, down the street. People that very much share the vision and the mission of what Lighthouse Christian Ministries has always set out to be, and individuals that have continued to stick with us even through this process.
What damages, or what's the resolution look like if it all goes your way?
Riley?
Yeah, so really there has been a significant monetary loss. We're looking at a warehouse that had millions of dollars invested in it that is now just sitting empty. It has working refrigerators. It's built for incredible amounts of food storage, and it's just sitting here. And it's sitting here at a cost, and it's sitting here at the waste of all the money that was invested in it. And so that's going to look like a lot of money to get this back on its feet. Also, there's a bunch of food contracts that Lighthouse had that allowed it to operate very successfully with local businesses, with local grocery stores, and we don't know if we're going to be able to get those food contracts back for Lighthouse. So it's going to have to get food contracts back. It's going to have to figure out how to start feeding people again. And we don't fully know the cost of that, but we know it's great at this point. In terms of next steps, we're going to wait for the city to respond to us now, and then we'll be figuring out steps from there. Usually cases like this take about a year to resolve, and then there may be an appeal, and that would be in the Court of Appeals in San Francisco. And we're willing to take it all the way to the Supreme Court if we have to win this.
And to be clear, has this already been filed, or will
Yes,
okay.
this was filed this morning.
Where was it filed?
It was filed here to the city of Wenatchee, to the mayor.
Okay.
In
so-
Spokane, yeah.
Okay, Spokane
Yeah.
Federal Court.
Yeah, Spokane. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I was wondering also, I believe the term you used might have been politically connected neighbors. Can you define politically connected?
Yeah, I think it comes down to the level of influence and connection you have with the city and who's leading the city. If you can just send an email, the average person can't just send an email to the mayor and get a response the same day. And we've looked at a lot of different public records requests and information to see that this was the type of relationship that the people were referencing had with the city. And that's pretty powerful information. Yeah. Any other questions? All right. Yeah. Thank you all so much for coming today. We really appreciate you being here and your time, and we appreciate everyone from the Soup Kitchen and who supports it being here as well. And we appreciate everyone online who's watching also. Thank you for your time. And I just want to reiterate that the impact that the Soup Kitchen has had on this community has been tremendous. And we want to bring it back. We want to be able to continue to let Lighthouse be the good neighbor that it is and continue to improve this community and solve homelessness.